Okay, the next one up that we're going to look at is a little bit different look at taproom sales. This one's going to be going back a little bit further, and what we're trying to do with this is see what specific beer labels have been selling each day and group those by the different category of beer that they're in. And what I want us to look at in this one is make sure we have good coverage of beer styles across periods of time, and that maybe we don't have too much on draft at any one time. For example, you might not need 10 double IPAs on draft right now and then be all out of them and not have any on draft 2 weeks from now. So this will be a visual that'll help us see what's going on there and how we might want to schedule the beers that we have on draft a little bit differently. Okay, here's our dashboard. And again, we're back in the Tableau cloud environment, hitting our underlying data of what's coming out of the tap room. You'll notice on the, I'll go through these columns over here first. So first we have each of our beer types. So these are the main categories we're looking at today. And next up, we're showing each individual beer label. So these have been sanitized, but think of these as a unique label of beer that you guys sell. How many total sales did we have in this period? We're looking at the last 26 weeks, so basically the last 6 months here. And then how many total barrels of beer of each of those beers did we sell? And then what we're plotting down here is these are each individual day across the last 6 months. So we're going all the way back from early October through, we're now in almost the middle of March. And it's going to put an indicator or a colored square every day that we sold a beer. So you can see for hazy IPAs or hazy IPA A, that's one of our flagships. So it's basically been on draft every single day that we've been open during this period. But then as we go down, we have some other ones like hazy IPA H or E that we had on draft for a relatively small period of time. So I think this one's interesting because we can see how much overlap we have of individual beers in a style, or do we have any gaps when there wasn't anything for one of these styles on draft? So let's look at a few of those examples together real quick. I think the first one that might stand out, actually, let's go back to West Coast IPAs. So I think what's interesting about the West Coast IPAs is back in, late November, early December, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on draft for a short period of time. That seems like a lot for a relatively small tap room. And then up through a month ago, we only had 1 on draft. So this might be an indicator that maybe we should plan our West Coast IPA production a little bit differently so we can space these out. And instead of having 5 on draft at one time and then 1 on draft later, we maybe keep 2 or 3 on draft at any point in time. Another example might be with dark beers here, where we had a few week period where we didn't have anything on draft. So this could be an example of where it would have been good to have dark beer C ready a little bit earlier if we knew we were going to run out of dark beer A, just so we didn't have a gap in time in case somebody came in and really all they wanted to drink was dark beer. You can see pale, for example, we went several months without having a pale on draft, and now we have 3 of them basically recently. So that's another opportunity that we could have probably spaced these out a little bit different. And then light ale would be something similar. We had 3 on draft earlier in the fall, and then we really had nothing recently. So I think this is a cool look at visually being able to represent how often are you selling each individual beer, and are the sales of that beer relatively steady from day to day, or do you see some big spikes from one day to the next? And then ideally, as you learn some of these different demand characteristics of your beers, you're able to plan your tap room a little bit differently in the future in order to take advantage of not having too many overlapping beers in a single style, but also not having any gaps in any beer style where there's nothing on draft at any point in time. So I hope that was interesting and you got some good ideas on how these might work for your brewery. If you have any questions on these or anything else related to brewery demand analytics, or if you'd like to see how some of your data would look in these dashboards so you can get a good picture of what your demand characteristics would look like in your tap room, please shoot me an email. My email is jeremy at centralcoast-analytics.com. And that email was Jeremy at centralcoast-analytics.com. Thanks for your time. Have a great rest of your day.